Hey everyone, welcome back to the All Bike Update. I'm your host Mitch Hackelman, and today we're going to be checking out the GOexpress from GoPowerbikes. Alright guys, some of you are probably just here for an overview, so let's talk about some of the most important specs on this bike. Class 2 e-bike, 500 watt rear hub motor, 48 volt, 10 amp hour lockable removable battery, 4-inch fat tires, 180 millimeter mechanical disc brakes, top speed of 20 miles an hour, with a max distance of 36 miles an hour. The frame we have here is a 6061 aluminum alloy. Now this is very similar across most of the e-bikes that we've seen, again unless we're looking at carbon fiber or some of those different, more expensive bikes. Some people are worried about the hinges here. Now both of these hinges are really nicely welded. We don't have any seamless welding on here so you can see the welds, but they are all look, nice and uniform. And people worry about maybe breaking these or cracking them. I feel like you'd have to be trying really hard in order to crack or break this folding hinge or this folding hinge up here. Both of these are fairly nice and sturdy. And popping on up to the saddle over here, we've got this Go Power branded Velo saddle. This one is not my favorite. It's similar to the one that's on the Go Cruiser. In fact, it might actually be the exact same seat. So I'm not a huge fan of it. It's just got these kind of big bumps here, big bumps there. I didn't find it particularly comfortable, but everybody's butt is different. And I feel like this probably works well for somebody out there. And if not, this is a really easily upgraded item, looking at $25 to $40 on Amazon or something like that to get a seat that does fit you well. And moving on up to the front, we have got these 20 by 4-inch tires. Now these are the Kenda Crusade Sports. We don't have any of the sidewall reflective stripes like we like to see. We do have some reflectors both on the inside and the outside of the spokes there, so that's cool. It does come with puncture protection, and you can adjust these anywhere from 5 to 30 psi. So if you were on something a little bit softer, say sand or some soft dirt, something like that, you may want to decrease the psi in here. I haven't tested it down all the way to the 5, and I think right now they're sitting at about 15 or 20, which I find very comfortable. We do also have these adjustable front shocks here. Got about 26 millimeters of travel. Not the best, not the worst. We do have quick adjustments, which is nice. So if you need to adjust it, make it a little bit firmer, a little bit looser, you can do that as well. And then we've got our front light here. I'm right at about 250 lumens. And this one is definitely bright enough to be seen at night. And I believe it is bright enough to feel comfortable riding around at night. The dispersion on this one is pretty good. More of a broad circular pattern on this one. And then moving up here, we have got these rubber ergonomic grips, no locking point. Most of the Go Power bikes grips don't have that, which is something we've pretty much mentioned on every one. We've talked with them and they've talked about adding this in here. So that'd be cool to see in future upgrades. Little locking mechanism here. And we've got this hidden bell. Always nice to see, especially if we don't have a horn or some other sort of alarm system built into a bike. Now right here we've got our keypad, very simple, 3-button style. We're gonna hold down this middle button and that is what's gonna turn the screen on there. And then back over here, we're gonna use this up arrow to raise pedal assist level. Now it comes stock with 9 levels of pedal assist, which is quite a bit. I believe that's something you could pop into the advanced settings and change if you like 3 or if you want 5, but it comes stock with 9. And then the down arrow key is going to lower your pedal assist level. Now similar to most of the bikes we have from Go Power, we've got this throttle safety button over here. So if this is not pressed, then the throttle doesn't do anything, and as soon as we press this in, then we've got access to the throttle. Now, what's nice about this one as compared to some bikes is we do have full access to the throttle all the time as long as the throttle is turned on. So the pedal assist level is not going to affect how fast you go with your throttle because you're going to have access to the full power the whole time. And right over here we've got our Shimano 7-speed SIS index. I mention it every time, looks cheap, but it functions well, and I really like the simplicity of these shifters. Now back here we've got our Tektro disc brake levers, and they do have that little rubber there, so if you are a fingertip braker like I am, this is very nice. Something you could use, you know, gloves or some sort of wrap, but it's cool that we get this little bit of grip stock on the bike. Sliding on back to the display. The display is going to show us a few things. We've got our battery level, we've got our odometer, and then we can use the middle button to change looking at the trip distance or the total distance on the odometer there. And we have our current speed. The nice thing about this one is it will show us our speed if we are just pedaling without using the motor, which is something I usually comment on. It's nice when we have that ability. Some monitors will only show you how fast you're going if you're using the motor. And then we've got the pedal assist level that we're on and the watt readout. A lot of the monitors don't show us the watts, but it is cool that we do have that option on this one. And then down here we've got our telescoping handlebars. Now I've got these probably about set at the midway point, so if we wanted to raise it up, we could do so. So now we've raised up a little bit. So the issue you run into if you have these extended all the way, and I believe if we had a little bit more cabling here, we could extend it even a little bit more. So one of the things, if you have this extended all the way, the cables become a little bit tight. Not that you can't steer the bike, but it's just not as loosey-goosey as normal. And the folding hinge over here, it has got a little safety lever here, so I'll pop that out, and then we can fold the handlebars down. And I really like the way this thing works. It just pops in, and then pops in, and then you can't pull it down unless you utilize this safety button. So it's nice to see that double locking feature here. And then moving on here to the back, we have got the Shimano Tourney derailleur. This is a 7-speed. Now the Shimano Tourney is the lowest of the Shimano derailleurs, sitting right underneath the Altus line, but it is nice that it is Shimano. You know, we like to look down and see the Shimano name, Tourney. You know, that's always nice to see, so it's not some brand we have to go research and figure out. It's like, hey, it's Shimano. They know what they're doing. They've been doing it for a long time. So nice that we can trust that these were going to be good parts here. And we have the inclusion of this derailleur guard. Again, similar to the GOcruise, when it came, this wasn't bent or anything like that. It sits right where it needs to be. And we see with some other e-bikes that these will come, they'll be bent. Just nice to know that the way they package these things, that it's arriving to you the way that Go Power Bike's intended. And then right back here, we have got the thing that makes the bike go. That is this 500 watt Halong motor. Now, the volume level on this is not too bad. The road noise that we get with these big tires, with these big old grippy knobs here, kind of covers up a lot of that. You still do get some of it. All of these, you know, rear hub motors, for the most part, are going to make some kind of noise, but it's not too bad. You know, definitely something you can hear, but it's, you know, it's not horrible. It's not that you're going to wake your neighbors up if you're riding around at night or anything like that. And slide on over here, we have got these Tektro Aries mechanical disc brakes. Both of these discs measure in at 180 millimeters. We've got one in the back and then one in the front. No issues with this. Out of the box, it functions well, it stops well. We'll do a little braking test later in the video, but so far these have been perfectly fine. We're not going any faster than, 22, 23 miles per hour on this particular bike, so having these mechanical disc brakes, not really a con in my opinion. There are some bikes, hitting up to that 28, 31 miles an hour where we really like to see hydraulic disc brakes, but the mechanical disc brakes on here are just fine. And then down here we have this adjustable kickstand. Looks nice, efficient. I like the way it fits, and it is cool that we have a little bit of adjustment, so if we need to lower it or raise it depending on what we do with the bike or what sort of terrain that we're in. Probably not something you would mess with a whole lot, but it's nice that you have that option. And then popping up over here, we have got our rear light. Now the cool thing about this rear light is it is tied into our brakes. So if you squeeze on the brake levers, this is going to light up this light. And those brake levers also have motor inhibitors as well, which is another safety feature we like to talk about. And that means that if you hit on the brakes, it's not going to give any more power to the motor, just allowing you to stop better and more efficiently, and that way you're not fighting the motor to get this bike stopped. And the fact that this is tied in with the brake levers is nice because it's going to let people know, hey, we're stopping. And these lights are actually really bright. I was a pretty big fan of how bright these are. So definitely no issues with being seen, even doing some nighttime riding on this bike. And popping up here, we've got these foldable plastic pedals. Probably something that I would look to replace. There's several different aftermarket pedals that you can get that will fit into this. We got these 160mm Pro wheel cranks, so very standard sizes. You could pretty much put any other pedal that you wanted to on here. These pedals aren't bad, and like I said, they do fold, so that's nice. But if I was going to keep the bike long term, that's probably something that I would look at upgrading, just because I've got a bigger, wider foot, so I'd want something that was maybe a little bit wider and a little bit thinner, if it were up to me. And then over here we've got this chain guard, more of a chain guide in my opinion, because both of these sides are plastic. Now it does do a good job of keeping anything from getting in here, so you know, my slacks or pants or anything like that, maybe we'll keep it from getting a little bit greasy. But because it's plastic, if we were to run into, say, a tree or a stick or a rock or something like that, I don't think that it would fare too well. But since we're going to be riding this bike on those really nice packed trails or even just in the city, this is probably not that big of a deal. And then you can see the cadence sensor right over here. Instead of an 8 magnet, we have 12, so that's a little bit nicer, a little bit of a higher count there. And that just means we're going to get a little bit more responsiveness because we're sending more information to the controller. And I think that pretty much covers it for the nuts and the bolts. Let's go snag the keys and take this battery out. All right, so we went ahead and grabbed the keys. Let's go ahead and take this out. We just unlock it. I just pull it up. Fairly easy to do with one hand. And we'll just pop that down. So we've got the locking mechanism on this side. We've also got a quick battery readout on this side, so you can find out how much battery you got there. Now these, you know, it's only 4 different spots, so it's definitely just an estimate. And then we have the on and off switch on this side and our charging port. So the cool thing about this battery is you can charge it on the bike if you want to, but you also have the option to remove it and take it inside. The keys are removable, so when you put it in here, you lock into the frame, you can take the keys out and operate the bike, which is nice, something that we comment on, something that I always like to see. All right, so let's talk about the specifics on this battery. We have got 48 volts, 10 amp hours, which is 480 watt hours. It's a lithium ion construction and charges in about 4 hours. I haven't charged this thing up fully yet, but most of the batteries that we've gotten from GoPowerbikes that we have fully charged really do fall within their limits, and I believe it's like 3 to 5 hours they list on their website. So that 4 hour mark is probably pretty accurate. And then once you get this thing fully charged, you can do an estimate of 20 to 36 miles on it. So to get that 36 miles, it is probably going to be on pedal assist, probably the lower levels of pedal assist, and you probably have some pretty flat ground to get there. But if you stick with those lower levels of pedal assist, then this should be able to get you 36 miles. It does come with a charger. The charger weighs about 1.4 pounds. It's the same charger that they use on all the other batteries here, which is nice. So if you, let's say you have this bike, you got the GOexpress, and then somebody else has a GoCruiser, you can use the chargers. At least at the time of this recording, they are the same. I would definitely double check that and always, use your correct charger for your battery. But at this time, they're the same thing. All right, let's go ahead and put this battery back in here and check out the walk mode. All right, so we got the battery plugged in and turned on. Let's go ahead and turn this bike on. All right, we got turned on now. What's interesting about this walk mode is it will only work if the throttle button is pressed in. So if we have this throttle safety button undone like that and we go to enter walk mode, it's not gonna go. You'll see the little walk pop up, but we're not getting any juice to the motor. Just a nice little safety feature for if some reason you had your finger on this button, not sure why you would, but let's say you did, and you didn't want to go into walk mode, it is nice that you have this option here to disable that. All right, so we've got the throttle safety button pressed in. Let's go ahead and enter walk mode. So we'll go ahead and hold this down. And it takes about 3 seconds, and we start walking about 3.5 miles per hour, 4 miles per hour. It's a pretty decent walk, pretty decent speed. But if you were walking, you had somewhere to be, you'd probably be walking about this fast. We've seen some of them that are as low as 1.5 miles per hour and some that are right around that 3 mark. So this one being 4, it's a little bit up there, but it's definitely a doable pace. Now, the nice thing about this is all we have to do is let off this button and the walk mode stops. Now, this is a nice safety feature because some bikes, especially if they don't have motor inhibitors on the brakes, you hold it down for 3 seconds, and then in order to turn it off, you've got to hold it down for another 3 seconds. Now, I feel like it's pretty easy to imagine a scenario where that wouldn't end well. So we've got that nice safety feature here. As soon as you let go of the bike, then the walk mode is going to stop, and then we don't have to run into any expensive cars or buildings or whatever else we might end up running into. All right, so let's go ahead and fold this thing up and take a look at what this thing looks like in that position. All right, so this is what the bike looks like when it is folded up. We'll have those dimensions on the screen for you. And what I like about this design, and most bikes that fold are implementing this, so maybe it's a little bit less magical than I first thought it was, but the way this is designed is we've got both of the tires, which are meant to be on the ground, are here, and then we've got this little stand here welded at the bottom, so that way our chain guard or our pedals don't have to be touching the ground. Now, when I was folding it up originally, you saw the pedals were kind of in a position where this crank would have been on the ground, and we just adjusted a little bit so it could sit on here nice and firm. So we do have quite a bit of folding capabilities on here. We could lower the seat a little bit. We can pop this over here. All right, let's put it back together and take this thing out for a test ride. All right, so we're out here for the ride test portion, and we are gonna test this bike out. No pedal assist, no throttle, just so you don't think I'm cheating. And we're gonna pedal as if it was a regular bike. On first gear, basically just go through all the gears and see everything shifts. First to second, pretty decent. Second to third was nice. And as we mentioned in the overview part, we do get to see our speedometer here as we're using this bike without the motor, which is nice. Some of them will only display the speed if you're using the motor, so that is nice. And then let's see, I'm in fourth gear here, pretty smooth. To fifth gear, smooth. Sixth gear and seventh gear. Yeah, all the shifting is pretty smooth. Even in seventh gear, I think the fastest I would feel comfortable going is probably about 11 or 12 miles per hour. Let's get back up to that. Just a pretty comfortable cadence right here, maybe with 13 miles an hour in that seventh gear. Let's go ahead and go through the pedal assist levels here. All right, guys, so we've got pedal assist level on 3. We've got 9 modes here, so we don't need to go through all those. Let's start with pedal assist level number 3 and see what we get from this. So there's about half a rotation there, and then we're gonna get that level 3 kicking very comfortably. 10 miles an hour, a very easy cadence over here on 7th gear. Let's go up to 4. Kicks in pretty much right away. Sitting right about that 12 mile an hour mark. Pedal assist level 5. About 15 miles per hour. Now I'm not gonna change my cadence here in 7th gear just so we can really compare these ones. Pedal assist level 6. Get that 18 miles an hour. Pedal assist 7. Gonna take us to about that 20 mile an hour mark. Now at pedal assist level 7 and the 7 gears, I feel like that might be a little bit too fast for the gears that we've got on here. So let's go ahead and put it into 8th. Can take us to 23, and let's see, pedal assist level 9. Taking us up to 27. So with the pedal assist on this one, you really can't beat that 20 miles per hour mark at the estimate. So really, it is kind of taken into that class 3 territory, getting up to that 27. Now, I have to pedal very fast in order for the pedal assist level 9 to get me there. But let's go ahead and use just the throttle and see how that works. All right, so we've got the throttle safety button pressed in, and we are going to go. Hitting up to that 12, 18, 20. There we go. Gotta stay vigilant out there, everybody. Look at that, 24. So again, even the throttle is beating the estimate of 20 miles per hour. Sitting right just below that 25 miles per hour mark here. So not too shabby. Again, the throttle was pretty responsive and we got up to, let's test out the 0 to 15 on this thing. And go. Kicks off right away. And already we're at that 15 mile an hour there. So nothing terribly crazy as far as the acceleration goes, but you do get up to speed fairly quickly. So as far as the center of gravity goes on this bike, we are a little bit high. However, we do have some really good, it feels very solid doing some cutting like that. Kind of going into a headwind here. Looks like the throttle's right around that 24 mile an hour mark. 526 watts. Now, the wattage on this motor is at 500 watts, and that is the nominal output. So the peak output is probably closer to 750, 800. And sometimes you'll see bikes that have motors that claim to be 1,000 watts or 1,500 watts. And in reality, they're just stating the peak wattage output from those motors. So sometimes that can be misleading, although technically it's not necessarily a lie, but you need to know the nominal wattage, and that's what most of us compare when we look at e-bike motors. As far as the road noise goes, it is a little bit windy, and I can still hear that motor a little bit back there, but I'm also getting a lot of that road noise from the tires. Those big knobs really sing on the asphalt. All right, so let's go ahead and do a braking test on this street. Ooh. So we'll get back going up to that 20 mile an hour mark or so. Go ahead and slam on the brakes. Now we did skid a little bit, but that's right about the 10-foot mark. Going, we're going about 20 miles an hour there. There's some loose gravel on this road over here. Let's see if we can do a controlled stop, see if we can't kind of match that 10-foot distance there. So going up to about 20. No skidding in, we were right about 12 feet there. And we probably could have done a better job at braking there. So the Tektro brakes, they work well. They are mechanical, again, compared to some of the hydraulic disc brakes. But you know, the speeds, the places we're gonna be riding this thing, I don't really think that's a huge deal. You look at other people, say Rad Power Bikes or some of the other people in that space, and a lot of them are still using mechanical disc brakes. And if that's a deal breaker for you, you can always look at upgrading to hydraulic disc brakes. You can find them on different places, Amazon, Alibaba. All right, guys, that is going to do it for our review of the GOexpress from Go Power Bikes. If you want to know more, I'll have a link down to their website down below. And if you got any questions, please leave me something down in the comments. I love talking to you guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.